I'm sure we all know exactly who Mike Lindell is, but just in case somebody's watching this 5 years in the future, let me give you guys a little primer on the bizarre things that he's had to say recently, because somebody extremely relevant in the Trump world and in the Lindell world just got in a lot of trouble. So I want to catch you guys up on who he is and what he's been up to lately so we can focus in on the shitstorm that Tina Peters has just found herself in. This is Mike Lindell from early February 2022, coming completely off the rails because Fox News stopped showing his nonsensical fraud claims. He is so upset with them that he makes a questionable suggestion on his Lindell TV or the Lindell Report TV show. Check this clip out.
Trolls that are on my Facebook, and they go, "There's no evidence, Mike. Give it up."
There is no evidence.
Just go over to Lindell TV and go to the Lindell TV 2, and you're going to see Garland on there pouring out the evidence from Georgia. And then, it won't be funny? Because then when Fox says we're all American, when Fox calls the United States of America, all the people liars, and our great president Donald Trump a liar, we say, well, Fox, here, why don't you run this tape on your show instead of Sean Hannity and run it and watch the stuff come out, Then
Well, this guy is just losing it right now. Does it seem like that to anybody else? He's like, it's almost like he's in a manic state right now, just completely wild-eyed and doesn't know like what's happening around him, and he's stress. It looks like he's been running his hand through his hair so much that he's like got a bald spot in it practically.
Come out, then maybe we should get our cyber guys, Brandon, that looked at all the evidence to hook up our stream to Fox's, like they all attack Lindell TV all the time. We can attack. Can you imagine? This is Sean Hannity all of a sudden. Breaking news right out of Georgia. We can't even put the evidence pouring in, Arizona, pouring in, Wisconsin. And Fox you'd have the Murdochs going, oh no, what are we going to do? The truth is out. We're the liars.
Hey, why don't you just play it on your show? This TV show is the Lindell Report on Lindell TV. Show us the evidence. Why are you talking about hacking Fox News? Dude is talking about hacking Fox News. I don't want to undercut the relevance of that. He's talking about hacking Fox News to play the evidence on that. Play it here. I'd love to see it. Show it. If you have evidence, let's see it, man. There is none. Here's the thing about Lindell. He doesn't have evidence, but he does have voter data. He got voter data from a woman named Tina Peters. She leaked voter data to Mike Lindell when she was in a position of power and capable of accessing that kind of stuff. So Lindell does have access to classified information, or I don't know if it's classified or what it would be, but secret, private information, private voter data. Voter data is not evidence. We'll get to Tina Peters in a second. I just want to remind you of Mike Lindell and the crazy stuff that he's had to say recently. This next clip is from early March 2022, and he threatened to sue all machines. Listen to this one.
I'm going to tell you right now, I've been working on it 5 months, and we're doing a class action. Actually, I'm announcing it here. I announced it on my program. Y'all watch frankspeech.com. Keep watching. But it's a class action lawsuit against all machines and that they're defective devices.
Don't you love it how like all of the claims that Mike Lindell makes never materialize, like ever? You're going to sue all machines. Interesting. There are examples throughout U.S. history of lawsuits against inanimate objects. Like, for example, civil forfeiture. I think the way that civil forfeiture is set up, where police basically confiscate money that you have on you and you just don't get it back. I think that's kind of like suing money. legally, or I think you can sue the money to get it back or something like that. I don't even know. Anyway, there are a couple of odd examples in U.S. law of people suing inanimate objects, but Mike Lindell coming out here and claiming to sue all machines like this is simply bizarre. Which machines? Like, what is he even talking about? What would the laws... Who's the plaintiff? Who's going to get... why are they suing the machines? Like, what are they trying to get out of it? It's just all nonsense. The guy is completely off the rails and has been for not 6 months, not a year. Honestly, has the guy ever been in touch with reality? I don't know. It's been at least 2 years that this guy is completely out of touch with reality. Completely. And that brings us neatly to Tina Peters. As I mentioned earlier, Tina Peters, the person on the right, she went on Steve Bannon's show, which, by the way, is also on Lindell TV. Tina Peters was, I don't remember, is Secretary of State maybe? I'm not sure what her position was, but she had access to private voter data, and she leaked that private voter data to Mike Lindell. And she went to jail for it. She got charged with felonies, to my knowledge. She went on Steve Bannon's show here to talk about the terrible experience that she had being persecuted for leaking private voter data to a nutcase. Listen to what she had to say about what it was like being persecuted for doing such a thing, mid-March 2022.
Country. What were the thoughts in your mind that night when you went to bed?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't go to bed. They keep the lights on 24/7. They have it. You sleep on a 1-inch plastic mattress with no pillow, no sheet, just barely covering up with a blanket. And in my case, there were 5 other women in this particular room that I was in. I can't even call it a room. It was a jail cell.
You know, I would have sympathy for her if she gave a shit about prisoners' rights, if she cared about improving conditions for prisoners, because that's something that I stand for. You know what she's talking about? She's talking about how persecuted she was. She doesn't care about how badly prisoners are treated. She cares about how badly she was treated. For all she cares, those 5 other women and every other woman in that jail that she was in can sit there and rot. She doesn't care about them. She cares about her. So I have no sympathy, Tina. None. I've been talking about improving prisoners' living conditions since I've had a platform. I've been talking about the fact that slavery is still legal in the United States in the form of prisoners. And she didn't care. She hasn't cared this entire time. She didn't care before she went to jail. She didn't care when she was in jail. And she doesn't care now. She cares that she feels like she's being politically persecuted for committing felonies, for breaking the law by giving Mike Lindell private voter data.
With a blanket. And in my case, there were 5 other women in this particular room that I was in. I can't even call it a room. It was a jail cell with a toilet. And my chief deputy was in a little bit larger room with 9 other women in her cell. It was a no contact. They did not allow us to communicate, contact, be together. The people that were in there were just hopeless. It was so sad. The food in there, I would have eaten my dog's vomit rather than eat that food. It was awful what they're serving to these people.
She doesn't care what they're serving to these people. She cares what they're serving to her. She has never cared about or fought for prisoners' rights. She only complains about how she's treated for breaking the law and violating how many tens of thousands of people's personal privacy. Before we continue, I just wanted to mention something. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, there's Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. Or you can check out my Telltale Unfiltered channel. I go through long-form, unhinged sermons from all kinds of people, from Hank Kunneman to Greg Locke to Jehovah's Witnesses. So give it a look. Links are in the description. Okay, now back to the video. So here's where it gets interesting. I talked about Tina Peters, I don't know, back in April, actually, so a few months ago. Anyway, I talked about her a while back when all of this was going down. April 6, 2022, NBC News, I think, broke this story. This was a pretty crazy deal. Listen to this.
For Republican Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters, she faces felony charges accused of tampering with her county's election equipment. She also has to answer to an ethics complaint, accusing her of accepting more money in gifts for her legal defense than an elected leader is allowed by the state constitution. Support for Peters comes in the form of the Pillow Guy.
Mr. Lindell, how much?
No way. What are the chances, huh? Comes in the form of the Pillow Guy. Who would have thought? She leaks private voter data to Mike Lindell, and he supports her re-election, or supports her election bid to Secretary of State of Colorado. She was a clerk, and now she's running for Secretary of State.
Accusing her of accepting more money in gifts for her legal defense than an elected leader is allowed by the state constitution.
That's going to be relevant in a second. Just keep listening with that in the back of your head.
Support for Peters comes in the form of the Pillow Guy.
Mr. Lindell, how much have you raised for Tina Peters' legal defense fund?
Okay, now if he says anything over what is legally allowed, then he is getting himself and Tina Peters into a world of shit.
I just put all the money in myself.
How much is that?
I don't know. I probably put in 3, 4, 5, maybe 800,000 of my own money.
Unless you're a close friend or family member of an elected leader, you're limited in how much you can gift.
You can only give someone a gift of $65.
Uh-oh. Oh boy. Mike Lindell just dug a hole for himself and for Tina Peters. This is not good. Oh my God. Actually, it's good for us. I'm glad that Mike Lindell was dumb enough to say something like that to a reporter without talking to a lawyer or thinking first, so that we have all of this on record and can charge Tina Peters, or at least sue her for an ethics violation at the very least.
Per calendar year.
Jane Feldman was once executive director of the Independent Ethics Commission. Now she's part of the legal team in the ethics complaint against Peters. And if Peters receives more than she's allowed, she could be fined twice the amount. So if Lindell really gave her $800,000 to pay for her legal defense, the fine could be expensive.
That's $1.6 million.
Ouch. And did you hear what Lindell said? He put all of the money in himself. He put all the money in himself. That means basically every penny that she had in her election fund pretty much came from Lindell. It was almost entirely from him. She does not have that much extra to spend on fines, is the point here.
But there is wiggle room if Lindell is a close friend. Except listen to how he answered a question about flying Peters around on his personal plane last year.
I'll give rides from people all over the country. I had never met Tina Peters.
Oh, I love it. So Mike Lindell thought that it was more beneficial to him if he didn't know Tina Peters. The thing here is, if he had been a close personal friend, it would have made it legal for him to have donated $800,000 to her election fund. But he didn't know that. So he comes out here and starts yelling at journalists, claiming he doesn't know her. He is so dumb sometimes. I love it.
I had never met Tina Peters. That's what the plane ride you're talking about. She came to the Cyber Symposium with a group from Colorado. I picked people up. I invited all 50 states. All 50 states were represented. There's your answer. Another stupid question by a stupid journalist.
Yeah, it's the journalists that's stupid. Absolutely, Mike. Definitely. Love this. This is so funny, man.
Stupid journalist.
But here's why it's not a stupid question.
If you had just met her, you weren't a close friend of hers.
I just met her that day. Another dumb question.
Oh my God, I'm eating this up. Mike Lindell is, sometimes he acts like the dumbest person on planet Earth, and I just love it to death. It's fantastic. Look at this angry look on his face, too. Oh, I love it.
Another dumb question.
If he said he had just met her and they had no prior relationship, it's very hard to argue that he was a personal friend.
Oh, I love it to death, dude. Well, here's the interesting news about the whole situation. Tina Peters lost her election. She lost. All that money that Mike Lindell donated is down the drain because she isn't going to win the Secretary of State race, as it turns out. And she's come out and responded to the fact that she lost the election. Check this out. Late July 2022. This is what she had to say.
This was a setup from the beginning. But when they saw that I had such a following and that I was going to win this, they front-loaded ballots. Now, if you read report number...
Did anybody expect any differently? Of course she's going to come out and claim that there was election fraud. Donald Trump paved the way for the destruction of democracy. Sow the seeds of doubt in our election system, and democracy will surely fall. That is exactly what happened with Trump, and that is the path that Tina Peters is following. And she knows this. You can't tell me she doesn't know she's destroying democracy by falsely claiming that they cheated in the election. She's even making up a method of cheating. Front-loading ballots, blah, blah, blah. It's complete nonsense.
Front-loaded ballots. Now, if you read report number 3 and Jeffrey O'Donnell, the author of that report, you will see that this is exactly what they did this time. They had to take me out. And why would a judge appointed by our radical baby killing laws, Jared Polis, why would a judge appointed by him issue 2 arrest warrants, 2 in 1 week?
For Tina Peters?
This past week. They want to take me out, and because they know that I know what's going on in the machine, Steve.
Or, bear with me, is it possible maybe you broke the law, and that's why they filed 2 arrest warrants? Do you think that's a possibility? Of course not. She is absolutely obsessed with the idea that she's the victim and everybody else is trying to victimize her. She's just this good Christian woman who's trying to violate people's privacy rights by leaking private voter data to Mike Lindell and others, Donald Trump and whoever else will take it. Disgusting. Disgusting that she was even running. Disgusting that she violated campaign finance laws. Disgusting that she didn't go to jail for longer than she did. Disgusting that she was even allowed to run again in the first place. And disgusting that after she lost, she continued to claim she was being persecuted, that there was election fraud and all this other nonsense. Absolutely despicable that she would do things like this. Deeply, deeply wrong. But that is what I've come to expect from Trumpists, from people following in Trump's footsteps. He laid the groundwork for this kind of a response to elections. We're going to be dealing with Republicans claiming election fraud every time they lose an election for the next 50 years probably because of Donald Trump. I'm not sure he knows just how much damage he did. He certainly doesn't care. He set out to do it. I don't believe for a second that he cares that he did immeasurable damage to U.S. democracy. Deeply, deeply disgusting to see people following in his footsteps, though. I'm just glad she lost. It's unfortunate to know, though, that there are still county clerks out there and secretaries of state and others who did support Donald Trump in the previous election and who might just be willing to flip the election or to decertify or send the wrong electors or whatever other schemes they have in mind if this type of situation arises again. At least it won't be Tina Peters this time. Brandon Kramer, I'm from Mesa County, Colorado. Tina Peters just got arrested again for violating parole. Fantastic. I love it. I love everything about it. Oh my God. I love accountability. I don't want people serving time in jail. I want accountability. And that's what we're getting with Tina Peters at this moment. Not enough. Certainly not enough. I'm glad she lost her election. I'm glad that she was rearrested for violating parole. We need more accountability nationwide, not just with Tina Peters, with everybody who's violating the law. Everybody who's being immoral. Be fantastic. If you disagree with my assessment, let me know in the comments or on Twitter @TelltaleAtheist.